What's up everybody, OT for Tech here, and this is the LG G3 Beat. If you remember about a week ago, I actually did my initial assessment and unboxing. Well, this is going to be the full review and a full comparison with the LG G3. Now, don't get me mistaken, this is not a comparison video. This is still the full review, but I incorporated the LG G3 a lot in this video just to show you the differences. So without further ado, let's begin the review and we'll start with the design of the LG G3 Beat. The LG G3 and the G3 Beat are very similar in design. If you take a look at the top, you can see both have microphones, both have IR blasters, but the G3 has that antenna. On the bottom, of course, both have micro USB 2.0 charging ports, headphone jacks, and another microphone. The LG G3 is short and stout, and what I mean by this is, since it's such a smaller body, it still has to fit a lot of internals in there. Therefore, it's going to be relatively thicker than the LG G3, but not by much. The LG G3 is wider than the LG G3 Beat, but this is to be expected considering it does have a much larger display, almost by a ½ inch. The LG G3 has a 5.5 inch display, while the Beat only has a 5 inch display. The notification lights are also different, as the Beat only blinks in red, while the G3 blinks in multicolors. In terms of design, there really isn't too much of a difference between these two phones, but the micro SIM card slot and the micro SD card slot are in different locations, as you can see here, and I just think that this has something to do with the size of the G3 Beat, nothing more. One of the most prominent features on the LG G3 is the Quad HD display. Unfortunately, due to budget reasons, you won't find this on the LG G3 Beat. Instead, you'll find a 720p display with a PPI of 294 versus the PPI of 538 on the LG G3, but both are IPS displays. When looking at small artifacts, text, or characters, you're going to notice an overall difference in sharpness and detail, and that's because the LG G3 has a Quad HD display. But the difference is not insanely great, and for that, we're going to play a game. This game is called Name That Screen. What I'm going to do is put both screens side by side and you tell me which is which. These images were taken from the Display Tester app that I use, which can be downloaded in the Google Play Store. I'll leave a link in the description below. As you see here, it's a beautiful snowy picture. At the top, you have the Beat. On the bottom, you have the LG G3. Moving on, you can see this is a beautiful picture of the sunset. And you can see there's a lot of colors and a lot of orange. And of course, the LG G3 is on the top and the Beat is on the bottom, but there's not that much of a difference. During my display testing, colors were slightly more accurate with better saturation and contrast on the LG G3 Beat. Plus, the screen gets a bit brighter, and this may be the reason why the images and colors look slightly better on the Beat versus the LG G3. Since both are IPS panels, both are going to have excellent viewing angles when viewing from the sides, the top, and the bottom. It's also important to add that you don't get Gorilla Glass with the LG G3 Beat, and that's a pretty cheap and pretty crappy thing for LG not to add. It's just basic protection nowadays in smartphones. In terms of speaker loudness, both have rear-firing speakers, which are not exactly the best, but both seem to be about the same in terms of loudness. The G3 may seem a little bit louder at times, but for the most part, I found them identical. Here's a couple tests, and you can hear for yourself. In terms of call quality on the LG G3 Beat, it was fine. Actually, I found it just as good as the LG G3. When I actually held them both up to my ear and placed a phone call, they were identical. So if you like the LG G3, you'll be just fine with the LG G3 Beat. So let's talk about the internals of each of these phones. The LG G3 has the quad-core Snapdragon 801 clocked at 2.5 GHz. It has 3 GB of RAM and the Adreno 330 for graphics. It's pretty impressive specs, especially if you compare it to the not-so-hot Beat. The LG G3 Beat has the quad-core Snapdragon 400 clocked at 1.2 GHz, 1 GB of RAM, and the Adreno 305 for graphics. Of course, you know right off the bat that the LG G3 is going to dominate in performance tests, which it does in every test respectively. However, one thing I did not anticipate was running the Geekbench 3 graphics test, and the G3 Beat just ran out of memory and I was unable to complete the testing. In fact, I had to run each the Manhattan and T-Rex test individually, clearing out any background applications. Moving forward, you can see the LG G3 trumps it in the standard Geekbench test by almost tripling it in the single-core testing and doubling it in the multi-core testing. Using Qualcomm's own benchmark testing app, you can see the story stays the same on how much better the G3 performs versus the Beat, performing the multi-core test as well as the metal test, with the results being around doubled on either one and every time. So of course with the Antutu benchmark testing app, which is testing the graphics side of things, you can see it's going to have the same pattern. The LG G3 is going to almost double the performance versus the LG G3 Beat. Despite having the devastating results, real-world testing shows that the LG G3 is not too bad when performing gaming and other extensive tasks. You can see here it's handling Dead Trigger 2 very well, and this is a game that has a lot of high frame rates, and you can see it's doing it with no stutter or no lag. So I was very impressed with that. The next game I tested was Injustice. Injustice is a fighting game that has a lot of frame rates as well, and I did not experience any lag or stutter when it came to this game. Every once in a while there might be a little hiccup. The only problem was that it suffered from the heating on the back, but I'll get into that in one moment. One funny thing is that even though the results were a tragedy when you're comparing it to the LG G3, ironically, some apps open quicker on the Beat, as you see here. I only tested a few apps. I tried the Google Play Store, I tried opening up the YouTube app, and I also tried opening up the camera app, and every time the LG G3 Beat was a little bit ahead of the LG G3. But in terms of multitasking and tasks such as that, you're going to find better results on the LG G3 due to the increased RAM and overall better specs. There's only 8GB of onboard storage with the LG G3 Beat, so I highly insist that you get a micro SD card. And after the bloatware and LG skin, you're only going to find about 5GB of storage left on this device, maybe even less than that. The G3 Beat is still terrorized by the rear back paneling heating up when performing tasks for an extended amount of time, just like its big brother. So unfortunately, even the downsized specs in his phone can't seem to beat the heat. The LG G3 Beat features a 2610 mAh battery. It doesn't sound like much, but it is enough to get you through the day. Now this battery is also removable, so you can swap it out with a new one if you have one. And if you purchased a Korean model, you'll get 2 batteries and a backup battery charger. So that's pretty cool, and that's what you get for that premium price you're going to pay for an unlocked Korean model phone. The disclaimer you see on the bottom of your screen is basically just telling you that the battery life and the usage that you see in this clip is not real world use. This was actually a secondary device when I did the shooting of the video. So the real world use that I got out of it when I was actually using it as a daily driver was between 4 to 6 hours of on-screen time, which is amazing. Not much has changed here in terms of software from the G3. So instead of talking about what's on the phone, I'm going to talk about what's not on the phone. In my initial unboxing, I stated that the bloatware apps were non-removable. Well, that was a screw up on my part, and I apologize. The apps are removable. All you have to do is slide them up to the app info section instead of the remove section, and you should be able to remove most of them except for like 4. Most of the things that I found missing in the software are under the settings, and the first thing that I noticed was that some of the gestures are missing from the LG G3, such as answering an incoming call and fading out a ringtone. I'm not sure why they took those out. Dual window mode is also missing, and this is because of the 1GB of RAM, I'm assuming. Like I said during the benchmark testing, this is not a device equipped for heavy or even moderate multitasking. It's supposed to be a budget and entry-level version of the LG G3, which for the pricing, they did not really do a good enough job. So as you can see, they took it out of the settings portion of the software as well as the background or app switcher itself. They also got rid of the Q Voice application or their little voice assistant, and I'm not sure why they did this, and it really doesn't matter because I'm here in the US and typically this is a Korean exclusive, but nevertheless it's not featured in the software portion of the G3 Beat. Lock screen weather animations are also not available on the G3 Beat, and this is more than likely having to do with the low RAM or even the onboard storage. I'm not completely 100% sure on that, but that's my lucky guess. The Beat does not support the ability to lock content found in your gallery. Again, I'm not sure why of this, as it's not really a RAM hogging feature, but it probably has something to do with the onboard memory and them not wanting to take up all of it, as after the bloatware and after the skin, there was less than 5GB available before I even installed any of my applications. So let's move on to pricing and availability. Right now, the G3 Beat is not available in the US, but it's supposed to arrive sometime in the near future under the possible names G3 Beat, G3S, or the G3 Mini. They could even come up with a different name between now and then, who knows. Now you can get the Korean version and it will work on the AT&T and T-Mobile GSM networks. The price is between $400 to $450. It is an unlocked model, at least the Korean version is. So if you want it, you can pick it up now. So now we're going to wrap up the end of this video with the camera like we always do. Now the camera is a 8 megapixel shooter on the back. It has a 1.3 megapixel front facing camera, has the advanced optical image stabilization, single LED flash, and of course it has that laser autofocusing that the LG G3 is known for. As far as software is concerned, you're not looking at anything different in terms of layout and design. It's identical. However, you are missing several features. Some of these features include you can only record in 720p and 1080p on the Beat, whereas you can record in 120 frames per second 720p slow motion and 4K UHD with the G3. You also don't have the ability to perform a dual shot picture or the magic focus picture. These features really didn't bother me too much, but honestly, I feel the LG camera was already skimp, but I liked it. However, what they did with the Beat was ridiculous. They took something already lacking in features and removed even more features. I feel robbed when I'm opening the camera app, but nevertheless, you can always download a third-party camera app from the Play Store. So for all you selfie picture takers out there, the ones that love the LG G3 because of that gesture control, you know, the one that you hold up your hand, wave, make a fist, and it'll take a picture, well, you still have that with the LG G3 Beat, and it works pretty good. It's just not going to be as high resolution because it's only a 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera. Well, guys, I did take some sample images and some sample videos, so sit back, enjoy, and I hope you guys like it. What's up, everybody? So we've come to the end of the video, and like all my videos, I like to end the camera testing with the front-facing camera, but it's pretty nasty weather right now, so I'm probably going to make this short and quick because I don't want to get struck by lightning or hit by a tornado, because who knows. But anyways, the LG G3 Beat is an okay phone. I think LG is asking way too much for the price of the LG G3 Beat, as it's not really a budget phone. It's more or less a G3 because the pricing is only about $100 to $150 less. If this phone was selling for maybe $300 to $350, then it would be a good buy. But at this point, I do not think the LG G3 Beat is worth it, but that's my personal opinion. Now, the facts are, it is a decent phone. I mean, it runs good. The screen isn't too bad for being 720p, and the camera can take some decent photos. Compared to the Moto X, which is a $300 or $350, I don't know what the price is at this very minute. I know when I bought mine, it was around $400. This actually takes much better pictures than the Moto X. But anyways, guys, this is OT for Tech. I will catch you guys in the next one. I'm going to get my ass inside because it's pouring down rain. Bye.